This is Jason Hammond, the Science Outreach Manager at the Children's Museum Houston, here to do a fun science experiment with you, brought to you by the W.T. and Louise J. Moran Foundation. Let's get to experimenting. Today you're going to be making a scientific journal. Now, instead of making a very simplistic journal where we just glue stuff together, we're actually going to sew together a journal. So if you've never sewed before, pay close attention to what I'm going to do next. If you have, you're going to be in really good hands. So these are the materials you're going to take out of your box. There's quite a few, so pay close attention. Cardstock. Every kid will get 2. Printer paper. Every kid will get 5. We put a little extra inside, so if you want to give kids more, depending on how many kids you have, that's okay. Felt sheets. This is to help design your journal. Needles. This is to help you sew your journal. A nail and a hammer. This is to help you make holes in your journal. Binder clips. This helps you hold your journal together while you're sewing it. Yarn. This is what sews the journal. Different buttons. We give you a whole big bag of them, but right now I just have these few. Depending on how many kids you have, they can have more than one button. We also have other things they can design with, like stickers and whatnot. And scissors. So the first thing you're going to need to do is to go ahead and get out 2 sheets of cardstock for every kid. So if you have 50 kids, you're going to need 100 sheets of cardstock. You don't have to pass it out. You can put it up somewhere and the kids can come and get it, but you want to give them 2. They also don't have to be different colors. You notice I pick orange and pink. They can pick 2 pinks, 2 oranges, 2 greens, 2 blues. They can do whatever they want. Just give them that choice, because in a sense, this is a making project and you want to make sure that they have choice in what they're doing. These are going to be the covers of your book, the front cover and the back cover. Now, you also want to make sure every kid has 5 sheets of paper. You don't have to limit the amount of paper that you give them if you have extra. We don't need any of the paper back. So go ahead and give them 8 if there's enough for each kid to have 8. Or if one kid wants 3 extra sheets and that's what you have, go ahead and give them those 3 extra sheets. Then you're going to want to go ahead and put it together like a book. So you have a back cover, you have a front cover, and then you have the pages inside. Next, you're going to hand out a couple of these binder clips to every kid. Now the binder clips, you should have enough for all of them, but if you have a larger class, you may have to share the binder clips, so one kid will have to do it and then let the other kid do it later on, or just give them 1 binder clip and it'll be fine. I'll show you how to do 1 binder clip and 2. So you can give them 2 binder clips. Just go ahead and open it up. Go ahead and open both up. And then put your sheets together again, and from the top, go ahead and put them on. Like that. Okay? Now, if you can only afford to give them 1 each, just put the 1 in the middle, and you're good like that. Okay? It just needs to hold it on. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put it back to 2 though, because it is more stable with 2. Now, you're going to use your hammer and nail to poke holes into the side here. That's where you're going to bind it together with the yarn and thread. So what you need to do is you're probably going to want to give your kids some of these felt sheets, fold them up so they have that there to hammer on. I'm going to use something else though, because I have the option to do that. I'm going to use this little foam pad. Some of you might have foam pads like this. Go ahead and pass them out. It'll protect your tables. Then what you do is, very simply, is put this on top like that. Now, when you're hammering, you don't want to get too close to the edge. I grabbed my needle. I need a nail instead. You don't want to get too close to the edge. You want to be sort of towards maybe halfway between the edge and that 1 clip. That's why it's good to have that clip. And then you just hammer it in. And you pull it out and you hammer again just a little bit further down. I would say you'd want to have them do at least 10 holes. You can have them do more holes, but don't let them do less, because then the sewing part of it isn't very, very exciting because they only have to go through 1, 2, 3 holes. So try to do at least 10. Now I've already made a journal and I'll show you the journal I made. It's actually gonna be about halfway complete and I'll show you how to sew and everything with that. But next I'm gonna show you how to thread your needle. Y'all ready? Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so you can see I've already started sewing this one journal, and you can see I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes ready to go, and I've probably already done maybe 5 or 6 holes already. So the sew is quite easy. All you gotta do is from this position, you're gonna go ahead and put your needle through the hole, and then you're gonna very carefully pull it through. Make sure you don't get it caught in the corner, okay? Now you have a stitch right there. When you flip it over, you're gonna notice there's stitches on this side as well. So what you're gonna wanna do is just go up to the empty hole and put your needle through. And then you're gonna have a stitch on that side as well. So you have a stitch on each side, okay? And you're gonna continue doing this all the way down. Now, you do not have to limit your kids on how they sew. If a kid has a way they wanna sew it together, let them do it that way. I sometimes see kids sew it like this, where they come around from the back so that they have this kind of loopy thing going on. And then I'll just kind of keep it like this. And you get this little loop thing like that. So they can do that, that's fine. You do want to try to encourage them though to do more than just a straight sew, like where they go like this. And instead of having a stitch on both sides, they just kind of go like this. And it's only a stitch on one side. And then they would come over here and not come over on that side. You see what I'm saying? So really you want to avoid doing that because you want to have a really nice, neat binding and one that will last, okay? Now, the one last thing I want to show you is how you would tie it off at the end. Basically, you'd find a loop, you start to pull it through, you're going to notice that it's going to make a loop here. You go ahead and put that through, you get it tight, and it's going to make a little knot, but you want to do it again so that you have a knot going on both sides. You go this way this time, and then there's your knot, and then it's tied off. See that? Tied off like that, and then you just cut it. And then when you cut it, to even be safer if you want, you can cut it, and then you can do that, and you can even tie it from here if you'd like, or you can just cut it further down. So it might seem difficult to thread a needle, but it's really not. That's why we give you yarn, because thread is much more difficult, and we give you a fairly sizable needle. Another reason to give you a fairly sizable needle is it's gonna hurt a lot less if someone pokes themselves in the end. They're not very sharp. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna take one end of the needle, you're gonna go ahead and push it through, and then you're gonna pull the thread through. And then when you have some thread, you're gonna go ahead and cut it. Now you're gonna need quite a bit of thread. I would say for each kid you want at least 3 feet of thread. You're gonna cut it, and then you're gonna get both ends together if you can, like this. You're gonna get both ends together. And then when you have the ends together, you're gonna go ahead and tie a knot so that the yarn doesn't slip out. You're gonna tie a knot once, and then double knot it just to be safe. And then you have a threaded needle. So now that you have a completed journal, go ahead and let your students, your kids, your campers, whoever, go ahead and let them decorate it. Have them put a button here. When they sew a button on though, make sure that they only sew it onto the cover of the page, not into the pages itself. You can use the felt that we have. They can cut in the shapes and they can sew that on so they can increase their sewing skills. One of the things I really like to see is when kids sort of monogram it using their yarn and whatnot. They put their initials onto it and they sew their initials on. You really want to keep the idea of sewing going, because when they learn to sew, there's a lot more projects they can do that include sewing that will be much, much easier for them if they know this skill. So every single day, when you're doing an experiment or a project or a maker thing, go ahead and have them have their journals out, give them a writing utensil of some sort, and they can write small notes. Now, keep in mind, writing doesn't mean words necessarily. They can draw what they want. They can diagram things. They can make lists. They can do bullet points. Whatever it's needed to have them write something down is all that we're asking for. Remember, this will be the first activity you do, because every other experiment, activity, maker project that you do after this will need a journal included to do all your entries. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope to see you soon.